Good morning and welcome to Hardin Life Live. We are the Hardins and we are a family of counselors and coaches who are committed to helping you live your best life both from a biblical and a therapeutic perspective. So it is 2022. It's really hard to believe.
It is.
And we are in the swing and focusing this month on ways in which we get held back from accomplishing our goals. So, what are things that hold us back? And I really felt compelled to talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness is something that really prevents us from being free to welcome new things into our lives and to feel the freedom unhindered, untethered to jump into whatever we feel called to and led to. And this is something that I have found in my own life and in our practice and the work that we do. What we see most frequently that holds people back from fully changing, fully growing, and achieving their goals is a lack of forgiveness.
Well, when you say that, a lot of times you and I don't think something like lack of forgiveness for this person over here could actually impact my here and now.
Right.
That's where you're missing. Because the way we're designed, and hun, you hit on it last week, is that because we are holistic, we're emotional, spiritual, relational, and physical, one part of our life impacts all parts.
Right.
So even lack of forgiveness is going to impact my spiritual life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to want to connect with God so much because I'm still holding on.
Mm-hmm.
It even affects the physical health.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we see that relation in Proverbs 13 where it says that hope deferred makes the body sick. So an emotional desire and need is impacting my physical. And then obviously lack of forgiveness impacts not only the person we're not connected to, but probably how we approach other relationships.
Absolutely.
So all that to say is you've got to recognize something like unforgiveness can literally hold you back from reaching the goals you have this year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was just going to say that, the freedom that Jesus promises us in the gospel, of course, is centered in the reality of being forgiven. And when we are forgiven of our own failures, wrongdoings, sin, then we are free to love and be loved. And the second piece that I would emphasize is that when we are dealing with trauma, there is a pathway to healing that involves re-experiencing the emotional pain. We have to go back and feel that again in order to grieve it. Then we have to restructure the narrative. We have to see more clearly what was really going on as opposed to believing that we're bad or that we were responsible. We have to restructure that narrative. And the third and final piece in healing from emotional wounds is forgiveness. And what oftentimes inhibits that forgiveness in the way that we know that we need to forgive is anger. Anger will hold us in a frozen place. It will invite us into thinking that we have the power to grow. And anger is a form of power, but that illegitimate, toxic form of power that we find in anger can only be released by forgiveness. I need to forgive those that have hurt me. And even experience personal forgiveness by receiving it from God Himself for my own failures so that I'm not even angry toward myself.
Totally. I love that. And I think a lot of us believe that if we forgive, then we're saying that what that person did to us was okay. And that's a strong piece that I hear you saying, Dad, is that we've got to feel our feelings. We've got to grieve. We've got to get angry. And then we've got to release it. Forgiveness is part of resolution. It's resolving so that God remains in his rightful place in our life as our leader and all powerful and in control, not us having to take that. It's almost, when I think about it, it's taking ourselves out of the driver's seat of our life. It's saying, I'm okay to go back into the passenger seat and God, give you back control instead of living in self-protection and blame and shame for myself. So, which really keeps me stuck. And I may feel in control in the driver's seat, but I don't know the best place to go for me. That's him. And it's putting him back in his rightful place when we forgive. And one other thought that I had as you were talking was, Lisa Turker says this so well. She says, when we forgive, we need to forgive twofold. It's forgiving the person or the entity for the act of pain towards us, but also for the impact of the trauma that had. It's twofold. It's like, yes, some of us may think, well, I forgave that person for that. It's forgotten or it's in the past. But we're not acknowledging the impact that act or that pattern of behavior had on us. And that's another part of releasing and putting God in his rightful place.
Well, the part that hits me as you're saying that about letting God be God, honestly, when you and I hold on to unforgiveness, we're putting ourselves in the place of judge.
Yeah.
And when you place yourself in the position of judge, guess what? All you do is judge. And it's control, it's power, and it takes in, like Dad was saying, the unhealthy aspect of anger. I'm holding on to that right versus releasing. But when we forgive, it's not reconciliation, and that's what I also hear you say.
Yeah.
Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation, but it means release from that person having the power over you to not move forward. Yeah. And so versus what we fear is that forgiveness is giving the offender a free pass. You know, I've always said what gives me peace at night when I think of the multitude of injustices, not just myself, but so many have experienced. I love throughout the Old Testament where God says, I am not mocked. Know that I will judge, and I will judge exactly and rightly. No one gets away. Vengeance is mine. And therefore I can rest that all the wrongs will be made right. But if I don't forgive, I'm the one held hostage. And the other person may be doing fine.
Well, and I just think about Jesus being the ultimate model for us about forgiveness. He is on the cross after being crucified for something that he did not do. And he's up on the cross telling the Father, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And so again, even he was putting God as judge in that place, even though he had every right to say it was wrong and to hold it against them. But he stood in the gap, and he stands in the gap for us and for those who have harmed us. And when we put him in his rightful place, it releases us from resentment and bitterness and anger, which just eats away at our joy and our hope and our just sense of being able to be.
The picture of unforgiveness. The picture of forgiveness to be free. To surrender not to the offense. Forgiveness involves eyes wide open, fully acknowledging the offense. But it is the release of the other person that God will bring the justice, not us. And we are free to love and be loved in the context of forgiveness.
Love that.
Well, I was just going to say we're out of time.
Yeah.
And what I would just think we would all encourage you to do, don't get off this without first asking God, who are people in my life I need to forgive?
Mm-hmm.
Ask Him to show you, because you may not even be aware that unconsciously you've walled off an area and you're still holding right of judge there.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can get free this year to actually live your best life. So ask Him and then begin to do the work. And again, Audrey's blog is an excellent place as she'll focus you. And Lisa's book.
Yes, Forgiving What You Can't Forget. Check this book out. We'll link it on our page, but definitely a great resource.
And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And don't forget, free downloads are on hardinlife.com, and see Audrey's blog.
Thanks, guys.